After southern Spain, it was time to go to Morocco with a one-day layover in Lisbon, Portugal. The flight to Lisbon only took 45 minutes. Their trains are awesome, and I arrived to the middle of downtown as a marathon was just ending. I checked into a hostel, made a couple friends, and walked around with them at night. It was a cool vibe with young people mostly just hanging out in specific streets and near bars. The next morning, I explored the city. These next shots are from the downtown section here, which is kind of the heart of everything going on. Walking around, I was struck by the diversity of people and cultures in the city. It felt like a mini New York City in that way, but with a smaller population size. I stumbled across a cafe that sells just one thing, pastel de nata. It's the most famous Portuguese dessert. It's like a sweet custard cake thing. My mom loves these, and there's a Portuguese population in Providence, Rhode Island, where I live, so I've had them before, but it was all time having fresh ones in Lisbon. I then explored a little further west. I got a lively feeling from the city with lots of events and things going on. It was clean and pretty relaxed. It gave a classic European feeling with old architecture, modern shopping, lots of events, and being multicultural. For the last 5 or 6 years, I've only traveled to places that speak Spanish or English because I really like being able to speak the language. So I was worried that in Lisbon I'd have problems, but pretty much everybody's second language was Spanish or English, and it was really easy talking with people and navigating the city. The World Cup final was starting, so I went back to the hostel and went out to watch it with new friends Gabriel, Arpita, and Kamaile from Canada, India, and France. It was time for my flight to Morocco, which is in northwestern Africa. I flew into Agadir, and I met a guy named Pedro on the flight who was staying at a local's house/hostel place, which sounded pretty cool to me, so I joined him in his cab, and we went over an hour north to Desert Point Surf House. At about 2 a.m., we finally got to bed. The next morning, I explored the property a bit. It's run by 3 family members, Ayub, Isam, and Boubaké. I met Mike, who's a surf instructor from France, who's here for a week surfing. After breakfast, Mike and I drove around the area. This part of the coastline has some of the best waves in Morocco. We found a wave, and the first Morocco session began. This was my first wave in Africa or Morocco. Surfing rental boards is always funky, so I didn't surf it too well, but the wave was pretty fun and a typical Moroccan wave, which is fast breaking, right-hand point break. The waves got worse, so we went back for lunch and tried to get Mike some waves, but the wind had killed the surf. We got a beer with another friend Hassan and ate dinner at the house. The next day, Mike and I drove around searching for waves until we came across an empty break. I'm pausing the video here to note how much of a dream come true this was just to drive around, looking at perfect waves and deciding where to go. We were pretty excited when we finally saw this one. Mike got a few waves before I joined him. We definitely don't get waves this good in Rhode Island, and it was a treat surfing with hardly anyone in the water. Here's a point of view perspective. This is pretty much exactly what it looks like, but the feeling that comes with surfing is indescribable. After a successful session, we headed a little south to the world-famous Anchor Point surf break, where some pros were out and ripping it. I got a few waves before breaking a fin. After swapping the board out, I surfed a bit longer. We hit the swell really good this day, and everything just lined up well. Next up, more exploring in Morocco and of course, more surfing.